Welcome to the How to Heal podcast, the show where we explore real life stories and practical tools to thrive. I'm your host, Lindsay Tremarky Richter, and through over a 15-year journey of all things healing, I'm here to hook it up. If you're feeling overwhelmed, looking for a deeper connection, or straight up in a psycho-spiritual crisis, I got you covered. Let's unearth your unique elixir to purpose, peace, and progress. Here we go. Welcome to the How to Heal podcast. I am Lindsay Tremarky Richter. I thank you so much for being here. If you are a consistent viewer or find value, please rate the podcast and follow my podcast. Feel free if you are on YouTube or Spotify to leave comments. I respond. I look forward to seeing them, and I look forward to interacting with you there and every week going forward for the foreseeable future. So I have to say, last night we went to the Nelly and Ja Rule concert. It was so good. We went to see them at Jones Beach, which is a amphitheater on Long Island, on the South Shore of Long Island on the ocean. And it was amazing. So I just had to say that because I made a really big intro last week. But I want to know how your goals went last week. And I promised I would tell you what my goals would be. But first, I want to just break down super simply how to structure the self-care goals I talked about last week, because we covered a lot and I want to just tie that up in a nice bow before we move forward. So when we look at our day, our daily routines, our daily structures, we must have non-negotiables. Non-negotiables are different than goals. I can tell you, like, one goal can be to keep your non-negotiables daily for X amount of days per week for X amount of months, if you can't wrap your head around doing it for the rest of your life. But, we want to really focus on our non-negotiables. I mentioned my non-negotiables were mindset, movement, and meditation. Those are my non-negotiables. And I hit those every day. In the past, I hit those every day. Now I hit meditation, movement, mindset. They're all different. I have all different ways of incorporating those into my life into a way that it's really just second nature. Like, I'm just taking a deep breath of, I always say, taking a deep breath is sending a love note to your body, just incorporating that mentality into your self-care non-negotiables and incorporating that into your daily routine. We also want to start small, so that we don't overwhelm ourselves. The goal is to, regulate the nervous system, right? The goal is to get calm in our body. The goal is to meet stress with ease so that we can tap into our intuition, so that we know the correct step moving forward, because it may not be so black and white. To embrace the feminine in a masculine world. And one of the biggest healing parts of my journey is just learning how to calm down, because we need to calm down. We need to slow down to speed up. We can't rush integration. We just can't. We have to sit through it. We can't know how a movie turns out unless we sit through the hour and a half of the movie. So just sit down, enjoy the experience, and let the roller coaster, thrill, scare, all the feelings that come up, you must sit on the roller coaster. So what are your non-negotiables? These are the self-care actions that you take daily. I really want you to think about those. Again, I talk about passion and purpose last episode. That's going to give you the groundwork, the framework, the feeling around what your passion is and what your purpose is. And if you are new to non-negotiables, the best thing for you to do is to have one goal for yourself, and that is to keep your non-negotiables daily for the next 8 weeks. And you can download a habit tracker on your phone. You can you can like print out a grid online Monday through Sunday on the top and check off how many, and it's satisfying to see how many boxes you hit. But again, I don't want you to get too mental about it. I want you to feel good about what you do and not focusing on what you don't do. But, we definitely want to just keep in mind what we're hitting when we're hitting. Okay. So assuming you're now, taking care of your non-negotiables, you're in a self-care routine, you feel like you're tending to yourself, like you're softening into yourself, and again, this is the most important thing I can teach you for the beginning stages of the journey. If you are on the beginning stages of the journey, one of the non-negotiables has to be to journal what the feelings you want to feel daily. 3 feelings daily. Journal your desired feelings daily. Write 3 things down, and as you write them, you feel them. You either feel them from a past experience or you feel them from what you see someone else experiencing. You harness those feelings in your body. So once we're taking care of these non-negotiables, we can start stepping into longer term goals. And we didn't get to this last episode. I'm kind of cramming a lot into this episode. This may just be like part 2 of the first episode, but we didn't get into the why. And guess what? Your why changes. It's not just like, this is my why for the rest of my life. When I became a mother, my why changed so dramatically in such a way that I didn't comprehend it could change into before I was a mother. I had like an intellectual understanding of what it meant to be a mother, but on a physical, emotional level, I did not understand that. It used to be, I want to be fulfilled and I want to be fully realized. But as I became a mom, I became aware of something that was much bigger than myself. And that felt like it almost feels like something I can't control, but I show up because of the very fact that I have no control and I have a bigger job now. And the job is out of love and being better, not only for myself, but for these people that depend on me in every way. So your why changes, and it's deeply personal. So as you step into these self-care practices, as you step into really just getting to know yourself better, getting to honor your feelings, get to honor your integrity, your sovereignty, you get to learn more about what's important to you and why. And that is your thesis statement for why you do what you do, why you care for yourself the way you care for yourself, what your larger goals are going to be. So when you sit down and you figure out your goals, I want you to sort of focus on 3 categories, and maybe you can make 3 goals for yourself. You can have your health goal, and that could either be physical, mental, emotional, or even spiritual, but it's a health goal. So focus on the pillars that I talk about in this podcast. And then I want you to think about a goal around your relationships. And that can either be familial or social, or it could even be the relationship to yourself. And then the third goal should be revolved around vocation or invocation, depending on whether you work or not. And if you do work and you just have your goals and they're all like, it's like a well-oiled machine, maybe you want to focus on your personal passion, growing a hobby, growing something that brings you life. And these goals should be longer term. But again, your non-negotiables are daily. Okay. So we're about halfway through this episode, and I'm going to step into this next pillar that I teach about energy reconciliation. I have some concepts that I want you to keep in mind, because as we move forward, this really is the second week of the program. So we're talking about our energy reconciliation, and I'm doing my best to sort of hold you guys here in this space as if I was working with you one-on-one, but the fact is that I'm not. So when we talk about everything, I want you to just sort of like take this all holistically, sort of together, understand what I'm saying, and we're going to just move forward full steam ahead. I'm not going to worry about like overwhelming you with information, because I trust that I'm not. The way I label week 2 is energy reconciliation and direction. And After you've have your non-negotiables, your goals, your why, you understand like why we're doing this. We're going to talk about what it takes to continue to do this and to continue to have breakthroughs in the ways that are going to be most expansive for you. I want you to keep in mind the biggest word here that we're going to talk about in regards to energy reconciliation, and that is boundaries. Boundaries, boundaries. We have to have boundaries with ourselves. We have to have boundaries with our work. We have to have boundaries with our family. We have to have boundaries with everything. Food, light, sleep. There are boundaries with everything. And as women, we are typically leaning towards give as much, bleed out as much. This is how I give. This is how I give. But what happens is like you're left with no blood and you can't function. So you can't possibly give. We know this. This is like, ABCs. You have to fill your cup before you can fill someone else's. You put your mask on the plane before you put your child's on. Okay, right. We know this. But the instinct is bleed out, bleed out, bleed out. And we have to conserve. So, inner child healing is a big portion of this. And I think it's a really big bite off the cookie to chew. So I'm not going to necessarily go too deep into inner child, but I'm going to mention it as some of the key concepts. We need to break victim mentality, and we have to take radical accountability for our own experience and the role that we are playing in what we are not receiving. So usually the role and the victim mentality is coming from a younger part of ourselves that is not seen, heard, felt, acknowledged. That's what inner child's is. Other key concepts to keep in mind here as a woman are moon cycles and your menstrual cycle. So I talk about this with the different cycles of our menstruation phase, which is menstruation, follicular, ovulation, luteal. You want to just honor your body's natural rhythms. We are not men. We do not cycle on a 24-hour cycle. We cycle on a 28 to 30-day cycle. So within that 30 days, we're better at certain things than we are at others. We're not going to perform at the gym the same way we would on day 5 of our cycle as at day 27 of our cycle. It's just not going to happen. So let's be aware of again, that energetic sovereignty as being a woman. Honor that. That's real. That's where our energy lies. That's where our magic lies. We literally can create life out of our body. There's something special about that. There's something special to be said about that. There's something to be honored in that. And I understand when you're working and you're just busy and you're doing all the things that you need to do, you don't have time. But again, let's come back to our non-negotiables. This is non-negotiable. This is the time that you make for yourself because you want to step into your full fucking potential. You can't work inside the box that was created by whatever confines you're working with. I'll link some more resources to the moon cycles and menstruation. There's a book called Do Less by Kate Northrup. It's amazing. And then there's another book called Code Red. Code Red is the name of the book. I'll post both of the books in the show notes. When we think about energy reconciliation, we're going to think about our traumas. What is it? Why do I care? We don't have to dig so deep in. Sometimes trauma can come and leave the body very easily. I always recommend somatic healing. Again, I'll link in the show notes. There's a woman called The Workout Witch. She does all these somatic exercises at a super affordable rate. It's all online. I will link it in the show notes. Release the shit from your body that you no longer need. When an animal is in a fight in the wilds and it almost loses its life, like a bunny, it'll run into the woods after the predator leaves and it will shake. It will violently convulse to get the fear out of its body. When are we doing that? We're holding on to little fears all the time. And we're just a different species. We have an emotional component to it. We want to protect certain people. We want to protect other people's egos out of love, out of survival, out of protection. It's a complex web of things that we don't process fully. So understand what your trauma is and release it as best as you can. Go to therapy, do IFS, do EMDR, all the things. Breath work, food and nutrition, journaling, exercise, yoga. Those are all the things that are going to help you get closer to your body so that you can start to unravel some of the traumas that you're holding close to you. And then again, you want to have awareness of that non-physical energy. And I talk about this in the energetic episodes, but every physical interaction that we have, every experience creates an equal energy. And those equal energies need to be acknowledged. And sometimes they need to be dispersed and they need to be sent to the light. I talk about this a lot, like previously, about intention and your intentions and going into your energy. We have to be explicitly clear that our intentions are pure. We have to have the intention to get closer to our soul's essence, closer to who we are, closer to being honest and clean and light. That is the core intention. And then I want you to just, again, I've mentioned this, understand the difference between masculine and feminine. We all have a masculine approach and we all have a feminine approach within us. Just because we're a woman, we're not feminine. Just because we're a man, we're not masculine. So when we understand the feminine approach, we're integrating the healing, the intuition, the softness, the allowing, the emotion. There is space for it. There's not only space for it, there's a necessity for it. Our men hurt even more when women can't step into their feminine bodies, their feminine approach. Our men need us to do that, even if it may be uncomfortable in the beginning. So I covered everything, and this is really where we're going to define our energy maintenance plan. And we're going to commit to a full daily routine. So you're not just going to do your non-negotiables and whatever, and you're going to forget about it. You're going to weave in the non-negotiables with the intention of having that thread through your entire day. You want to be mindful of these changes that you're making for yourself in a heart-based way. And sometimes it's a lot to carry it. So I get that you'll turn it off sometimes and turn it back on. But again, that's the integration piece. So just to give you full circle, my daily goals are exercise, meditation. I'm using an app called HeartMath. It's a device that you buy. You clip it onto your ear and it tracks your heart rate variability and lets you know when you're in a state of high coherence, meaning you're at an optimal nervous system state, I guess I would say. And then I'm going to be doing daily writing. And I actually do my writing at times with my HeartMath device so I can track my nervous system while I'm doing daily habits. My writing is focused around artistic and creative writing, not just journal dumping. If you were just getting new to writing, just get it out of your brain. Write the most boring shit ever. Just get it out. Write what you want, write what you don't want, write what you're scared of, write what you're excited about, write what you're looking at, write what you have to do for the day. Just get your pen to the paper and write. I am a mom of a 5-year-old and a 1-year-old. So on top of cleaning, changing diapers, tucking into bed, reading stories, nurturing emotionally, cooking meals, being loving and present, being a good wife, making sure that the next thing is planned, making sure the house is in, like the list goes on. So just know that I'm here with you. I've also been in corporate. I had a 15-year corporate career where I had to function on a very high level in a masculine environment. So I understand the sacrifices that we make, not only at home, but at work. So this work is going to help you nurture your feminine essence, nurture what you really want, nurture your passion and creativity from a deep, deep level. I love you guys. I will see you next week. Peace out.